Playing changes can be difficult for many instruments for many different reasons, but we're going to need a place to practice these changes that has lots of room and we can do lots of experiments without actually causing any problems. And I call this place Area 51. And if you're familiar with Area 51, you know there's a whole lot of secrecy and really cool things happening. Hopefully many of my students will recognize the fact that when I say Area 51, I mean a 12-bar blues progression. Now, many of you have probably done this to death, I get it. But what we're looking at here is we're trying to approach this from the ease of playing changes. And a lot of us are using too complicated of a system to make the changes. I'm not thinking in caged, I'm not thinking in 3 notes per string, I'm thinking in the octave systematic approach for a particular reason. I'm going to play a 12-bar blues progression. I'm going to solo over it, play every single change. Notice how much I am not moving, and notice how much I am struggling to not move because it is so easy for me to be mobile and play changes with this system. So let's analyze how the octave systematic approach would go about playing a 12-bar blues. Remember, in OSA, the highest note is the most important note, and we can go in 2 directions. I can go behind the root or in front of the root. Right now, we're going to stick to behind the root. So I can play my 1-octave pentatonic with my color tones. Okay, that's totally fine. But then when I go to F, what many of us will do is we will jump down to the lowest note of F. So we're doing this solo, and then, wait, okay, why did we make that gigantic jump? It's because that's where we're taught to start playing from. So when we try to start phrasing or have fluid changes, we can't because we keep starting from where we always practiced. But if I practice from the highest note, notice it sounds more fluid. It's because I'm starting from the highest note. I'm also now playing a scale from the B string, and I'm going forward or in front of the root. And notice it wasn't that difficult for me. You probably already are familiar with some of these little patterns, but we're trying to think of the entire caged shape, and we're also trying to think only in one direction. We want to be thinking from any point of view in any way. So now we go to the G chord. Oh look, G is right next to me, and I can use B going backwards. And then I go to F, and then I go to C. Way, way easier to solo. Now, do you have to play that fast? Of course not. I'm just demonstrating, look how easy it is for me to jump between these patterns. That's what OSA was designed for you to play changes easier. So what if I started playing the 12-bar blues from the forward position, being in front of my root? That gets kind of interesting. So I have a C major pentatonic, 1 octave, but then I have an F. My closest F is right here, but now I can use 2 string. That's why it was so difficult for me to stay put, because I knew the easier way was actually this new pattern. But notice I've become more mobile now. Now, do I have to sit there with this F? No, I don't have to. There's also this F on the G string. I pick whichever one is easiest for me or whichever is actually matching my phrasing at the moment. Remember, OSA is to help you become more mobile with your phrasing, not just speed, 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 speed. So let's say we're playing a minor pentatonic. What a lot of us will do is we'll try to use the exact same patterns in different places. We'll say, well, C major pentatonic is the same thing as an A minor pentatonic. However, this will make things confusing because when you're trying to phrase, now your landing tones have moved. 1 isn't 1 anymore. It could be a 1 or a 6. With OSA, we want to know exactly which interval we're playing at any given moment in time. So we would use a minor pentatonic with our blue notes, but we're going to start to notice something. Because these scales are so easy to play and because they're all so familiar or similar to each other, it's very easy to start repeating yourself. So what you want to start doing is try to add in those color tones or start in different positions, so that way you won't play the same thing over and over and over and over again. Now what a lot of us are going to do is we're going to go find our favorite blues backing track and just start shredding it as fast as we possibly can. The point of OSA is to control phrasing. Don't use 5 notes if 1 note will do. So what I want you to do is make sure you can play these scales and hear the change without actually having to have the backing track. I can hear what's happening. Once I have control over that, I don't have to play nearly as many notes. People who are not guitar experts are going to hear how good you are, and guitar experts are definitely going to hear how good you are. The only people who are not going to like this are purists. And how many purists are out there? So who cares what they think? The point is that everyone can understand you and they like you. So why am I calling this Area 51? You have to remember why Area 51 exists. It exists because they need to test things without being looked at. So if you're trying to test an airplane, you need a large area to test that airplane because the airplane is going to be going really fast. So they go out in the middle of the desert to test the airplane. But that's not the only thing they test. They also, I've heard, have mechs over at Area 51. The reason why they don't use them out here is because they're not reliable yet. They have all types of things they're testing out there, but they can do it and have no consequences for it. So 12-bar blues also is a very, very easily manipulated chord progression. I can make them major, I can make them minor, I can put in altered chords or diminished chords, I can do whatever I want, slow it down or speed it up, and it's always going to make sense. A lot of songs you can't do that, but 12-bar, you can do whatever you want it to do.